Celtic Myths and Legends by T.W. Rolleston. Chapter 5 Tales of the Ultonian Cycle. Ferdia to the Fray. Cuchulainn had now overcome all the mightiest of Mav's men, save only the mightiest of them, all after Ferdia, son of Daman, and because Ferdia was the old friend and fellow pupil of Cuchulainn, he had never gone out against him, but now Mav begged him to go, and he would not. Then she offered him her daughter, Findabair, of the fair eyebrows, to wife, if he would face Cuchulainn at the ford. But he would not. At last she bade him to go, lest the poets and satirists of Erin should make verses on him, and put him to open shame. And then, in wrath and sorrow, he consented to go, and bade his charioteer to make ready for tomorrow's fray. Then was gloom among all his people when they heard of that, for they knew that if Cuchulainn and their master met, one of them would return alive no more. Very early in the morning, Ferdia drove to the ford, and lay down there on the cushions and skins of the chariot, and slept till Cuchulainn should come. Not till it was full daylight did Ferdia's charioteer hear the thunder of Cuchulainn's war car approaching. And then he woke his master, and the two friends faced each other across the ford. And when they had greeted each other, Cuchulainn said, "It is not thou, O Ferdia, who shouldst have come to do battle with me. When we were at Scatha, did we not go side by side in every battle? Through every wood and wilderness, were we not heart companions, comrades, in the feast and the assembly? Did we not share one bed and one deep slumber?" But Ferdia replied, "O Cuchulainn, thou of the wondrous feats, though we have studied poetry and science together, and though I have heard thee recite our deeds of friendship, yet it is my hand that shall wound thee. I bid thee remember not our comradeship, O hound of Ulster. It shall not avail thee. It shall not avail thee." So, Ulster, Culster, they that debated with what weapons they should begin the fight, and Ferdia reminded Cuchulainn of the art of casting small javelins that they had learned from Scatha, and they agreed to begin with these. Backwards and forwards, then across the ford, hummed the light javelins, like bees on a summer's day. But when noonday had come, not one weapon had pierced the defense of either champion. Then they took to the heavy missile spears, and now at last blood began to flow, for each champion wounded the other time and again. At last the day came to its close. "Let us cease now," said Ferdia, and Cuchulainn agreed. Each then threw his arms to his charioteer, and the friends embraced and kissed each other 3 times, and went to their rest. The horses were in the same paddock, the drivers warmed themselves over the same fire, and the heroes sent each other food and drink, and healing herbs for their wounds. Next day they betook themselves again to the ford, and this time, because Ferdia had the choice of weapons the day before, he bade Cuchulainn to take it now. Cuchulainn chose then the heavy, broad-bladed spears for close fighting, and with them they fought, from the chariots till the sun went down, and drivers and horses were weary, and the body of each hero was torn with wounds. Then at last they gave over and threw away their weapons, and they kissed each other as before, and as before they shared all things at night, and slept peacefully till the morning. When the third day of the combat came, Ferdia wore an evil and lowering look, and Cuchulainn reproached him for coming out in battle against his comrade, for the bribe of a fair maiden, even Findabair, whom Ma'ab had offered to every champion, and to Cuchulainn himself, if the ford might be won thereby. But Ferdia said, "Noble hound, had I not faced thee when summoned, my troth would be broken, and there would be shame on me and Rath Cragan. It is now the turn of Ferdia to choose the weapons, and they betake themselves to their heavy, hard-smiting swords. And though they hew from each other's thighs and shoulders great cantles of flesh, neither can prevail over the other. At last night ends the combat. This time they parted from each other in heaviness and gloom, and there was no interchange of friendly acts. And their drivers and horses slept apart. The passions of the warriors had now risen to a grim sternness. Together with much that is wild and barbaric in this Irish epic of the Táin, the reader will be struck by the ideals of courtesy and gentleness, which has not infrequently come to light in it. It must be remembered that as Mr. A.H. Leahy Mr. A.H. Leahy points out in his Heroic Romances of Ireland, the legend of the raid of Qualgny is, at the very latest, a century earlier than all other known romances of chivalry, Welsh or continental. It is found in the Book of Leinster, a manuscript of the 12th century, as well as in other sources, and was doubtless considerably older than the date of its transcription there. The whole thing, says Mr. Leahy, stands at the very beginning of the literature of modern Europe.